You ever prayed and felt like your words just dropped flat to the floor? Like they didn't even make it past the ceiling? You cry out, but it feels like you're the only one in the room. You talk to God, but he ain't saying nothing back. And you start wondering, is he even listening? You check your heart, your faith, your words, trying to figure out what went wrong. And in that silence, the enemy starts speaking loud, telling you lies, telling you that God's not interested, that he's turned his back, that you're wasting your breath. But I came to tell you, silence is not absence. Just because you don't hear him doesn't mean he's not near. God is not like people. He doesn't need to be loud to be present. Sometimes the silence is the answer. Sometimes it's God saying, be still. I'm working. But see, we get so used to noise, so used to feedback, so used to constant validation that when God chooses to speak in stillness, we panic. We think the relationship is broken. We think he left. But the whole time, he's watching. He's listening. He's moving things in the background that your eyes haven't seen yet. There are prayers you prayed last year that are just now touching the timeline of your life, just now showing up in your today. And if you let silence convince you that God didn't hear you, you'll walk away from the promise too early. Don't confuse quiet with disinterest. God doesn't ignore his children. He delays sometimes. He tests. He stretches. But he doesn't abandon. He doesn't turn away when you call. He said, call to me and I will answer you. He never said when, but he promised he would. And God never breaks his word. That's why prayer isn't just about answers. It's about trust. Do you trust him enough to talk to him even when he's not talking back? Do you believe he's still worthy even when he's not saying yes? Or are you only faithful when the blessings feel fast? Because real relationship with God isn't proven in the miracles, it's proven in the silence. When you stay planted, when you keep coming, when you pray again, even though the last one hasn't come through. That's boldness, that's faith, that's love. And listen, sometimes God goes quiet because he wants you to grow up. Not in shame, not in rejection, but in faith. He's maturing your spirit, teaching you how to walk even when you can't see, making sure your faith doesn't rely on feelings, because feelings are fragile. But truth doesn't move, truth stands. And the truth is, you are heard. Heaven bends low when a child of God speaks. The throne room doesn't close just because your emotions are heavy. You are never ignored when you come in his name. So keep praying, even if your voice is shaking. Even if your hope is low, even if the answers seem delayed, keep showing up. You're not talking to the air, you're talking to the creator of it. And if the one who made time itself tells you to wait, trust me, it's not a no. It's just preparation, refinement, alignment. And when the time is right, what was silent will speak. What was still will move. What felt hidden will be revealed, but only if you don't stop talking. Only if you don't let the quiet lie to you. You were heard the first time. Keep going back anyway. God is still listening. We get this idea that we need to be perfect before we come to God. Like we've got to clean ourselves up, fix our attitudes, shake off the doubt, and show up dressed in strength before we pray. But that's a lie. That's performance, not faith. God doesn't need your performance. He wants your heart, the broken one, the unsure one, the tired one, the heart that's questioning but still turning toward him anyway. You don't have to wait to feel powerful to approach him. In fact, the moments you feel weakest are often the ones he's waiting for most, because that's when it's real. That's when you're done pretending. That's when you stop relying on your own strength and actually lean on him. Prayer is not for the strong, it's for the desperate. It's for the one who knows they can't do it alone. It's for the one who's tired of trying to hold it all together, tired of smiling in public and falling apart in private. It's for the one who's been running and finally realizes there's no finish line without the Father. And when you come like that, when you bring your mess instead of your mask, God doesn't reject you. He welcomes you. He draws near. Because he's not looking for perfect vessels. He's looking for honest ones. And see, we confuse boldness with loudness. But boldness isn't about volume, it's about obedience. It's about moving when you don't feel qualified. It's about stepping out while you're still scared. It's trusting God enough to act before you get the full picture. When you move bold, you say, God, I'm still healing, but I'm going. I'm still doubting, but I'm stepping. I'm still learning, but I'm moving forward anyway. That's what it means to walk by faith and not by sight. That's what it means to believe in his strength more than your own insecurity. There are doors that won't open until you move. Not because God is withholding, but because boldness is the key. Boldness that comes from spending time in prayer, not from hyping yourself up. You don't need to hype yourself into faith. You just need to trust that the one who called you will sustain you. You don't need to be fearless. You need to be faithful. You don't need to be impressive. You need to be available. God can do more with one willing heart than 100 polished ones. So come to him as you are, not as you think you should be. Don't wait until the fear is gone. Don't wait until the healing is finished. Don't wait until the confidence shows up. Come afraid, come unsure, come shaking, but come. And when you do, you'll start to see how God meets you in motion. You'll realize you were never meant to wait on strength before you moved. You were meant to move and watch God strengthen you on the way. It's not about being ready. It's about being willing. Because God doesn't need perfect people. He needs surrendered ones. The ones who will pray through the pain. The ones who will worship through the worry. The ones who will move forward not because they feel bold, but because they know who goes with them. So no, don't wait to feel strong, come broken. Pray anyway, and move like you've already been sent. There's a kind of weariness that doesn't show up in your body, but sits heavy in your spirit. You can smile, you can serve, you can post scriptures, and still deep down feel like you're barely holding on. You pray, but it feels like you're dragging every word out your mouth. You believe, but doubt keeps slipping in like water through crack. You love God, but your strength, it's not what it used to be. And that's okay, because this walk was never meant to be fueled by your strength in the first place. It was meant to be carried by grace. Sometimes we forget that God never asked us to be unbreakable. He asked us to stay connected. Because your power doesn't come from how strong you feel. It comes from where you're rooted. And when you're rooted in him, you may bend, but you won't break. You may fall, but you won't be forsaken. You may stumble, but you're never disqualified. The enemy wants you to believe that your struggle discredits your calling. But the truth is, your struggle might be the very thing God uses to strengthen your dependence on him. See, strength in the kingdom looks different. It's not always loud. It's not always visible. Sometimes strength looks like getting up and praying when you feel numb. Sometimes it's choosing not to give up on your purpose, even when your emotions are telling you it's not worth it. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, Lord, I trust you, even when everything in your life is falling apart. And that kind of strength, it's not natural. It's supernatural. It comes from the Spirit, not from self. You don't have to be the hero of your story. God is not asking you to carry what he already conquered. He's not waiting for you to prove your strength. He's waiting for you to admit your need. Because when you are weak, he is strong. When you fall apart, he holds you together. And the power you're looking for, it's found in surrender, not in striving. The world tells you to grind, to hustle, to fake it until you make it. But God tells you to rest, to abide, to be still and know. Your greatest victories won't always come from a battlefield. Sometimes they come in a prayer closet. Sometimes they come in the quiet moments when you choose to believe what he said over what you see. And sometimes they come in the tears you cry alone when no one else sees, but heaven is recording every one. You might feel like you're too weak to go on. You might be tempted to give up. But let me remind you, your strength is not in what you feel. Your strength is in who you're walking with. And as long as he's with you, you still have what it takes to stand. Not because you're powerful, but because he is. And he never asked you to finish this race alone. So don't let weakness shame you. Don't let it make you feel small. Don't let it lie to you and tell you you're unworthy. Weakness is not failure, it's an invitation. An invitation to lean harder into the one who never runs out of strength, who never gets tired, who never sleeps. An invitation to finally stop trying to be everything and let him be enough for you. When you run out of strength, that's not the end. That's the moment grace takes over. One of the hardest things to do in life is to walk by faith when what you see doesn't line up with what God said. It's hard when the promises don't seem to match the present. It's hard when your reality is screaming the opposite of your hope. And in those moments, the temptation is strong to shrink back, to settle, to say, maybe this just isn't for me. But can I tell you something? That's exactly the place where bold faith is born. Not in clarity, but in confusion. Not when it all makes sense, but when you choose to believe anyway. God is not looking for perfection. He's looking for perseverance. It's not about knowing every detail of what's next. It's about being faithful with what you know now. And what you know now is this: he called you, he promised you, he walks with you, and his word doesn't return void. That means even when it takes time, even when it feels delayed, even when it hurts more than you expected, it's still on the way. Faith isn't just trusting God when things feel good. Faith is trusting God when it feels like nothing's happening at all. See, some of us are waiting on God to move, and God is waiting on us to believe. Boldness is not about having everything figured out. It's about taking the next step without the full map. It's walking into rooms you don't feel qualified for because you know who sent you. It's applying for things you're scared of, speaking when your voice shakes, and showing up even when fear tries to paralyze you. That's what faith in action looks like. It moves even when your knees are trembling. And the enemy will do everything to distract you from that movement. He'll tell you that your voice doesn't matter. He'll whisper that your story is too messy. He'll remind you of every past failure and try to convince you that you're still that person. But boldness isn't based on what you've done. It's rooted in who God is. And when he calls you, he already accounted for your weakness. He already factored in your failures. What he's looking for is your yes, a surrendered, shaky, still trusting yes. You were never meant to tiptoe through your calling. You were meant to run with confidence. Not because of your strength, but because of your source. When God breathes purpose into your life, it's not a suggestion, it's a divine assignment. And every time you delay out of fear, you're not just holding yourself back, you're withholding impact from someone else who needed what you carry. That's how serious this is. Your obedience could be the answer to someone else's prayer. So I'm challenging you today. Move bold. Don't wait for the applause. Don't wait for the certainty. Don't wait for fear to leave before you do what God told you to do. Move in the midst of it. Trust that your steps, even the small ones, are leading somewhere sacred. And if it feels like nobody sees your obedience, trust me, heaven does. Heaven records every moment you chose faith over fear, surrender over control, trust over comfort. You don't need all the answers to move. You just need the courage to say yes when it doesn't make sense, to stand firm when it's uncomfortable, and to walk forward when everything in you wants to run away. Because faith isn't just believing God can do it, it's moving like you believe He will.